Running and loving are not opposites in the avoidance psychology. This is the central truth that the 5 signs rest on, and without it, the signs make no sense. They look like the ordinary, ambiguous behavior of someone who is uncertain or uncommitted, rather than the specific, patterned, highly legible communication of someone whose love and fear arrived simultaneously and whose nervous system, unable to hold both without the fear winning, chose the running while the interior kept choosing you. The running is not the truth. The truth is what the running is running from, and what the avoidant is running from, the specific, particular, this person specifically reality that activated the fear enough to generate the retreat, is almost always the most accurate available measure of how significant the love actually is. Ordinary connection does not make the avoidant run. They navigate ordinary connection with the composed efficiency of someone for whom the stakes are manageable. The running is reserved for the connections where the stakes are not manageable, where the feeling exceeds the containing capacity, where the person encountered has reached the interior in a way that the management cannot simply process and neutralize and return the system to equilibrium. The running is the avoidant's tribute to the size of what they feel, however inadequate a tribute it is, however little it serves either person. These 5 signs are the love showing through the running, the interior breaking through the retreat in specific, observable, involuntary ways that the running cannot fully suppress. The first sign, the running, has a rhythm that returns to you. The avoidant who does not love you runs and does not return to the orbit. The retreat completes itself. The distance establishes itself as the natural resting state, and the engagement reduces over time as the system settles into the equilibrium of someone who is not significantly attached. The running, when it is the running of someone who was never deeply enough in it for the fear to fully engage, is more like drift than flight, gradual, directionless, not organized around the specific person being moved away from because there is not enough specific gravitational pull to give the movement direction. The running of someone who is completely in love with you has direction. It runs away from you specifically, and it returns to you specifically. Not through a decision. The avoidant is not sitting down and deciding to return, is not making a conscious choice to re-engage in the specific way that implies agency and awareness. The returning happens because the running reaches its limit, because the fear, having successfully created the distance that the intimacy pressure required, subsides enough that the pull of the love, the specific particular, this person pull that generated the fear in the first place, becomes louder than the fear again. The rhythm is the sign, the specific, recurring, entirely patterned quality of someone who keeps coming back to your orbit, not because they are strategically managing your availability, but because they are magnetically drawn to you in a way that the running cannot permanently overcome. They run, they return. The running is the fear, the return is the love, and the love, in the rhythm of the returns, reveals itself as the more durable of the two, the force that keeps reasserting itself despite the fear's best efforts to establish the distance as permanent. The second sign, they are protective of you in the moments they are least defensive. The avoidance defensive resources are finite. The management, the calibration, the continuous monitoring and assessment of intimacy pressure, these consume resources. And in the moments when the defenses are most occupied with the management of their own fear, the avoidant has the least resources available for the secondary management of how their care for you expresses itself. These are the moments when the protectiveness leaks through, not the announced, deliberate, this is my person protectiveness of someone who has acknowledged their investment and is expressing it without the constraint of the management. The quiet, involuntary, doing it before they can decide whether to protectiveness of someone whose caring is strong enough to activate without conscious permission. They step in the specific moment when someone says something that diminishes you, or when a situation arises that creates a difficulty for you, or when something in the environment requires someone to act on your behalf. The avoidant acts before the management has had time to calculate whether acting reveals more investment than they want to reveal. The action precedes the calculation. The caring is faster than the concealment, and in the aftermath, In the moment they register what they have done, what the action communicated, how clearly the investment was made visible, you will often see the micro-adjustment, the slight pulling back, the casual reframing of what just happened into something less personally significant, the management re-engaging after the fact to contain what the moment of unguarded caring made visible. The re-engagement is the confirmation, the unguarded caring is the sign. The third sign, the quality of their listening changes around you. The avoidant in managed connection mode listens with the specific, efficient quality of someone who is processing the content of what is being said for the information required to navigate the interaction. The listening is functional. It is present. It is often, given the avoidant's genuine perceptiveness, more accurate in its reception than the listening of many people who appear more engaged. But it is organized around the interaction's management, rather than around the person speaking. The avoidant who is completely in love with you listens differently. The shift is subtle enough that it can be missed if the attention is on the content rather than the quality. But it is present. The listening becomes oriented rather than functional. It is receiving you rather than processing what you are saying. It remembers not just the information, but the texture of the moment, the specific way you said something, the particular quality of the feeling underneath the words, the detail that was incidental to the content but central to the experience of you in that moment. This quality of listening cannot be performed. It is the automatic expression of an interior that has made you important in a way that changes the entire relationship between the listener and what you are saying. When everything you say matters not because of its informational content, but because it is yours, because it is the specific, irreplaceable expression of the specific, irreplaceable person the avoidant is in love with. The listening changes. It becomes attention in the fullest sense, fully present, fully oriented, fully unmistakably about you rather than about the management of the interaction. The fourth sign, they reach for humor with you specifically. This sign is perhaps the least discussed and the most reliably telling. The avoidance humor, when it is present, when it is real rather than social performance, is one of the most intimate things they share, because humor at the level of genuine, spontaneous, unguarded amusement requires a specific quality of internal safety that the avoidant does not provide easily or often. Genuine humor requires the momentary suspension of the management, the willingness to be unguarded enough that the real response to something funny arrives before the managed response can replace it. The specific quality of shared laughter that is not social bonding, but actual interior delight. Two people whose perception of something aligns closely enough to produce the same response simultaneously without either performing the alignment for the other's benefit. The avoidant who is completely in love with you reaches for this, with you specifically. The humor that is present in your dynamic, the specific quality of it, the particular things that are funny between you, the insideness of the references and the speed of the wit and the ease of the falling into shared amusement, is available with you in a way it is not available with most people. Because the unguarded quality that genuine humor requires is most available in the presence of someone the avoidant trusts at the level the management cannot fully govern. The humor is the interior's delight, finding an expression the management has difficulty preventing. It is the love in its lightest, most undefended, most genuinely joyful form. The fifth sign, they tell you true things in indirect language. The avoidant who is completely in love with you needs to say true things. The interior pressure of the unexpressed, the love, the fear of the love, the specific things about you and about the connection that are pressing against the containment with the accumulated force of feeling that genuinely has no adequate outlet, generates the need for expression that the direct form cannot accommodate. The indirect language is the solution the avoidance psychology finds for the problem of having things to say that cannot be said directly. It takes many forms. The genuine compliment offered as an observation rather than a personal statement. Not "I love this about you," but "this thing about you is remarkable," positioned at a slight remove from the "I" that would make the statement too direct. The future reference that includes you. Not "I want you in my future," but when this happens, said with the natural assumption of your continued presence embedded in the syntax. The vulnerable truth shared as a general reflection, not "I am afraid of losing you," but sometimes I think people do not understand how rare certain connections are, said in your presence, not quite to you, but not quite not to you either. These indirect expressions are not dishonesty. They are the love finding the form in which it can survive the fear's censorship. The truth arriving in the only vehicle the management currently permits, the vehicle of indirection, of plausible deniability, of the stated not quite to you that allows the saying without the full exposure of the saying directly. The attention required to receive them is the same attention required to receive everything the avoidant offers, not the attention to the surface of what is being said, the attention to what is being carried underneath the surface, to the person beneath the management, to the love beneath the running, to the truth that is always in the avoidant who is completely in love with you, present in the indirect language of someone who cannot say what they mean directly, but who cannot, despite the running and the fear and the management and the distance, stop finding ways to say it. They are running. That is real. The running costs you something, and the something it costs is not nothing, and the love being present in the interior does not make the cost of the running acceptable. But the love is also real. These signs are the evidence, not of a love that is comfortable or well expressed or adequate to the relationship it is trying to sustain, of a love that is genuine, specific, entirely particular to you, present in the rhythm of the returns, in the unguarded protectiveness, in the quality of the listening and the ease of the humor and the truth in the indirect language. The running is the fear, the 5 signs are the love. And the love, however inadequately it has found its expression, however much the fear has cost both of you, was always real, was always yours, was always in the specific and irreplaceable way of something that found you specifically, completely, if quietly, if imperfectly, if still learning how not to run, there.